Looking to get your hard money loan approved with less stress, less guesswork? Well, this video is for you. I'm going to outline 4 simple steps for you to follow that will help you get ahead of the line and get your first hard money loan funded. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. If you're getting into the game and you're a new investor and you're asking in your head, how can I get my first hard money loan approved? Well, this video is for you. We're going to talk about 4 steps that you can follow to ensure that you have total clarity with your hard money lender. You can get your funds lined up. You can get the lender what they need. You can get from your lender what they expect of you and what you should expect from them. So we're going to go over these 4 simple steps. The first one is going to be understanding the deal specifics, your scope of work, what kind of rehab you're going to do the property. The second one is knowing your numbers and your ARV. Your lender really wants to know this, and we're going to talk about why. The third one is having all of your documents prepared and organized and what those documents are that your hard money lender is going to require from you. And then the fourth step is going to be getting some feedback from your hard money lender. There's certain things not only that you need to provide your hard money lender, but that the hard money lender should be providing to you. So let's dive into it with step number 1. Okay, step number 1, and these 4 steps probably could go in any order, but step number 1 is having your scope of work or your rehab, your construction budget, whatever you want to call it, figured out as best as you can ahead of time. We've done a lot of videos on this topic, so we're just kind of rehashing it here. You can search my library for more detailed information on what that scope of work looks like. But why is your scope of work important? Well, it's very important because it's one of 2 numbers that are your most important numbers on a deal. Your rehab estimate and then your ARV, which we're going to talk about next. But why your rehab number is so important is because if you don't know what that rehab is going to be, you have no idea if you're going to make money, where to offer, because as we've talked about, you got to reverse engineer your numbers. You need to know your ARV and then you need to know your rehab number because all the other numbers in and around the deal are just math. It's very simple to calculate what your interest rate's going to be, what your interest is going to be, what the title fees are going to be, what your soft costs are going to be. But I would argue, and that's why I'm starting with point number 1, knowing your scope of work and what your rehab estimate is going to be ahead of time is so important. It's going to make or break your numbers on the deal. And so point number 1 is knowing your scope of work, whether you're doing it through a contractor or where you're hiring it out yourself, or whether you're even doing the work yourself, having an accurate assessment of that scope of work is so critical. And we'll summarize it at the end as to why. And like I said, I've done other videos on this that you could dive into to understand exactly how to organize your scope of work and get estimates and bids. But scope of work is number 1. Point number 2 is accurately estimating that ARV. And again, the point of this video is why you should be prepared to get a hard money loan is because your hard money lender is going to want to know what you think these estimates are. You're going to want to demonstrate to your hard money lender that you have pulled comps, you've looked at the area, you've looked at the subject property in relation to the neighborhood, you've looked at other houses that have been flipped or that are remodeled to the point that your expectation will be to get that after repair value. Because if you don't have a clue as to what your after repair value, do you think that's going to give a lot of confidence to your hard money lender that you would even know how to execute on the deal? No, it wouldn't. So the more accurate information and the more detailed information you have on this is going to give your lender confidence that you know what you're doing. And especially when your hard money lender agrees with your assessment, that's going to give further confidence that you're a good borrower to take a bet on, to loan money to. I've seen it happen where I am way off on what I think the ARV is versus what my borrower thinks the ARV is. And then what it does for me is it gives me less confidence that they would actually have the ability to remodel the property and to sell it for a profit. And then what that does is it makes me think, maybe they're not that good of a bet as a borrower because they just don't seem like they're very organized or have the ability to estimate, an accurate ARV, let alone going into point 1, which is, knowing your rehab numbers. Okay, so that's point number 2. Point number 3 is also very important. It's about being organized. Your hard money lender is going to want to have you send them certain things like a copy of the contract. If you're buying it in an LLC, you need to have your LLC docs ready. You need to have your articles of incorporation. If you have multiple members of an LLC, you need to have an operating agreement that spells out who is authorized to sign and take debt on behalf of the loan. Are those people all available to sign? A lot of times, maybe, borrowers line up a closing deadline while they're out of town and out of the country. How are you going to get a notary if you're not in town? So the point of step number 3 is being ultra organized. Have copies of the contracts, have them labeled appropriately to what deal you're working on. Have your LLC docs. You're also going to need insurance, so you're going to need to know how to get that, who to get it from. So this point number 3 is all about being organized with the transactional documents, so that you can provide those to the hard money lender, because the hard money lender is going to need a copy of the contract. They're going to need to know the terms of the deal. They're going to need to know who's buying it. And like I said, if it's not in your personal name, you are going to need LLC docs, and the lender's going to need those to properly document the loan. It's not like we're trying to investigate or find something that's wrong with your transaction, although at times we do. But when somebody's lending you money, they need to know the full terms of the contract so they can properly document it in their loan docs. So there's a lot of detail in between those first 3 points, which are, to recap, the scope of work, knowing the ARV. And if you've watched a video of mine on using my fix and flip calculator, you'll understand why I always harp back to knowing your ARV and knowing your rehab numbers, because they are the ultimate inputs into your calculator that can help you determine if you're going to make money on a deal or not, or what you need to offer on a deal in order for it to make sense. The 4th point I would say is equally as important to you as the borrower in trying to line up a hard money loan. The first 3 points we talked about, all the things you're going to need to provide to the lender, but you need to know some stuff from the lender for you. So the lender also needs to be proactive to clearly, do a term sheet or provide you with very specific information about what the loan terms are, what the origination fee is, what the points are you making monthly payments or is it deferred interest, what's your interest rate, what happens when there's a balloon payment, or what happens when the loan's due, will the lender give you extensions, are they going to charge you default interest? Along with this, as far as like what the lender will provide to you, they should also provide to you some referrals, either through title companies that they've transacted with, or what's even better is borrowers, especially borrowers that maybe their loan did not go to plan and they had to work with the lender to like get to the finish line. Like, what does that look like when it doesn't go to plan? When you go over time, is the lender going to work with you? Will they give you an extension, or is it hard and fast that if you're not paid back by the date of the due date, the lender forecloses? Like, what does that look like? How does the lender behave? How do they operate? Because you know how you're going to behave because you're you. But you don't know how the lender's going to behave. So until you're actually experiencing it, the more information you can get from the lender, the better. And referrals and word of mouth and networking with other borrowers that the lender's loaned to is probably the best way to go. So you want to be organized. You want to know your numbers, both the rehab numbers, the ARV, and you want to be able to kind of vet your lender just like they're lending you. And if all of that happens, I know there's a lot there, and there's probably a lot more detail in, amongst all those 4 points, but if you can be prepared and you can have those 4 points in mind, when you find your next deal and you're looking for your first hard money lender, you are going to be miles ahead of the competition and way more prepared than you otherwise would have been. So if you're ready to lock in your next hard money deal, I would love to help you out with it, especially if you're in Utah. So DM me, drop me a comment, let me know what deals you're looking at, how I can help, and then follow the directions of what I said. Get me those 3 items and I will do the same in return to let you know quickly and accurately what our terms are, how quickly we can close, and hopefully you got a good deal that you can be off and running with for your first one, or if it's not your first, your second, your third, or fourth. So get after it and let me know about your next deal. Thanks for watching, you savvy investors, you newbies, you experienced people, everybody looking to make some money, change the neighborhoods of the world, rehab houses, flip them. I wish you the best of luck. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and let me know what other content you might be wanting to hear from me.